Okay, let's talk about the steering wheel controls, which really are your driving controls. This is the governor. If you know how a governor works, I suspect you do, it keeps the throttle open. So even though you have an accelerator pedal, which you do use for your driving, this will allow a baseline amount of air into the carburetor or into the engine, below which it will not drop. So when you're driving, you're running about here, which is 1 or 2 notches above the S for slow. When you bring it down too much, the engine will cut out and die. If you take it up very high, the engine will race, make changing gears very, very difficult. So your best driving position is about 1 or 2 notches above the S in slow. For starting the car, you need a bit more, and you'll be up around here. We'll discuss that in starting. So that would be a typical running position. In the center is the carburetor mixture. These do not have automatic carburetors like later cars, so you have to set the mixture. Normal driving will be about center. To richen the mixture for more power, or to some extent more power, would be to the right. It says strong here. To weaken the mixture, it says weak here. We'll talk about this again in terms of the driving, but this is an important control. Most of the time you'll be sitting in the center. It's ideally adjusted for 99% of your driving. About the only time you'll need to change it while driving is when ascending hills, the car will need more power and you give it 2 notches rich. Notches you can feel in the back here, that's what I'm referring to. If you're going up hills, 2 notches rich, otherwise in the center, you never really have to weaken it. I have adjusted the carburetor so it's running exactly right. It shouldn't need any messing with. And then this over here is the ignition timing. Modern cars time the ignition automatically, and semi-modern cars have centrifugal timing in their distributors. These cars, however, you have to do it yourself. This says here late, and this says early. Late, another term for that is retarded, early, or advanced ignition. When the piston is coming up prior to the spark plug firing, before it reaches the top of the stroke, we call that before top dead center, and that would be early timing. If you fired the spark before it passes over the top, you'll be firing it early. If you're firing it after it passes over the top, you'll be firing it late. To start the car, you always want it late or fully retarded. That's because if you fire the spark when it's coming up before it reaches its apex, the engine will run backwards and will destroy it. Not a good plan. Once the engine fires, though, you can fire the spark plug prior to it reaching the top, because the flame actually takes a while to propagate, and now the engine is moving with speed. So this would only be the starting position. Once you are driving, or once the car is even just started, you move this lever up to about here for slow idling, or if you're moving any faster, really up about there. And what you see now, all 3 positions, would be the normal driving position. We'll talk about starting the car at a different point.